art with a capital A. It's human beings that are focused on crafting beauty.
Art communicates the passions of life.
It is a visual self-expression.
And my name is Bryony Stroud Watson, and I am a violinist and violist. I just recently moved back to Chattanooga after living in New York, playing in New York, and teaching in New York. String Theory Youth Initiative. It's run by students, and our goal is to bring awareness to how much music, and especially live music, can really enrich your life. We get to interview artists before the concerts to find out a little bit about their background. And chamber music is it's been often described as an art form that is an intelligent conversation between a small group of people. But classical music is a broad term. We don't always just hear music written by Bach and Beethoven. As the last String Theory concert, which we had, was all percussion, and a lot of that music is actually very contemporary. So classical music is just a term that we use to define high art music versus popular music. Art is about beauty. In the natural world, there's tons of beauty. This is the perfect time. It's springtime in Chattanooga. Art with a capital A, I think my definition is it's human beings that are focused on crafting beauty, which is different than just naturally occurring beauty. It was made by man, it was crafted. You have to become an artisan in order to partake and participate and create that art. It's so important that what we're doing is educating the audience and trying to bring more people into the appreciation of the art of instrumental, in this case, chamber music. Artists tend to articulate emotional range and really push those ranges, to the limits, like extreme joy, extreme passion, and the opposite, intense sadness and frustration. We work really hard to present beautiful concerts, and we need an audience to come to those concerts and participate. The electricity in the room, which is a combination of the bond and the energy that the artists are putting out on the stage, but then a really great concert experience, usually you have this feeling that the audience is just as involved. We need each other. And it's not just the youth, it's the parents of the youth, it's everyone supporting one another.
Art communicates the passions of life. It communicates. I strive for what I do to be art. I think art certainly is inspiration. If you ever saw me try to do a visual art piece, you would go, what a lovely little ink blot, and didn't you try very hard? But really, I just kind of fluffle that down. Mm-hmm. I think art is a combination of passion, craft. Like, what do you want your audience to know? What do you want your audience to do? How do you want your audience to feel along the journey? And what sort of careful crafting can you bring to your communication tool to help the audience feel that? The audience has to feel it. For it to be art, the audience has to feel it. But I think it's passion meets crafting, fine crafting. Let me take something that affects how we feel every day that nobody thinks about as having an artistic flow to it. But that's just traffic. Urban planning, who would think that? Urban planning. Every time you get in your car to try to go through this light or that light, what you want to feel is something that feels clean and easy to get through. And while you go through that path, perhaps it's visually pleasing along the way. You emotionally experience that. I believe something as simple as urban traffic, urban planning can be artfully done in a way that helps those who experience that ride, that literal ride, to experientially affect the mood and emotionalism of their day. Now, Chattanooga, like, wow, right? The public art, the statuary and things like that we see all the time, looking on things that are visually pleasing, that really affects how we feel every day. I'm pleased right now just to be looking on you, my darling. All you darlings through the cyber lens, all of you. Theater is this, unlike some of the other arts, it is a collaborative art, and it is all of them, isn't it? It's visual art, it's dance, it's spoken word, it's lighting, it's all of these things. So what you have is this tremendously large community. All of that stuff comes together. It's every single person in that collaborative effort is emotionally, passionately, not just invested in crafting that outcome, but actually in making that happen in real time of a performance. So something that you might not think about, for example, but I believe the stage managers, the techs, the people on the spotlight, all of that, those people have to manage those cues in a moment that helps the audience have an emotional response.
So I think it really depends on your interpretation. The modern wing, where these huge canvases are just blotches of paint, and immediately people have a knee-jerk response. So like, I don't like this, or my kid could do this, and I try to probe that issue. Well, what do you mean that your kid could do this? Let's sort of unpack what that means. Because when you move into that wing, it's not so much about how it looks, so it's very much important, is the experience that you have with the canvas and how color affects you, or how gesture could convey movement. So you really kind of have to reorient your point of view to thinking about a final product versus the steps that led up to that product. In terms of skill, yeah, it used to be a very important part of the art process. Individuals would go to art school and learn proficiency in drawing and painting and sculpting. But in the 1960s, and even beforehand, these conceptual artists were creating work in which the final project wasn't important. What was important was the idea. And for them, the art was the idea.
I'm Debbie Glasscock, and right now I'm teaching Art 2, Art 3, AP Drawing, AP 2D Design, College Portfolio, and 8th grade art. So it could be drawing, painting, it could be sculpture, printmaking, photography, dance and drama and film and music, song. Creative writing is an art. There are a lot of mediums that could be covered. Some new, some very old. Abstract art that is good is actually very hard to do. Even though it looks very simple, the ideas and where you put things and why you put shapes or colors or textures where you've put them, there's always a reason to put them in a certain place in a design. But it is very difficult to take a non-figurative, say, painting or drawing, and have a really beautiful piece, a well-done, modern, abstract piece. A lot of people do not understand them. If they can't say, oh, that is a identifiable something, they don't think it's art, and that is not true. That's not true. It is design, and it is not always a recognizable figurative image. So there's a lot of art forms that are more than a pencil or a paintbrush.
The reason the arts are important is because it's the whole creative process. How do you generate a new idea? What happens if your idea, if something goes wrong right in the middle, how do you shift gears and change direction? And are you okay with making a change? What happens if you start out with no ideas? Where do the new ones come from? And it doesn't matter what the subject area is, whether you're writing an English paper or creating a science experiment. If you don't know how to be creative and how to go about the whole creative process, that there is a process, there's a step-by-step process, then how does anything new ever get discovered? And it doesn't have to be just art. In fact, a lot of things that happen in the arts are because of scientific discoveries that artists pick up and want to play with. That was like photography. The the artists took off with photography. There are scientific discoveries that artists play with all the time, but I think it's the creative component of it that businesses are looking for now. So there are internships and artists in residence working for engineering firms because they need people who are creative, and that's what the arts teaches you. No matter what you want to do in the long run, the arts teach you how to be creative and how to generate ideas, how to develop an idea.
Color and line.
There's lots of applications for art. I guess the definition is quality, beautiful, just good tattoo work. To me, is good. It's art, in my opinion, because we take images that people will bring to us and turn them into a tattoo to put on their skin that lasts forever. Like that's art. Just like her, she brought me this, and I made a picture of it that fits her leg, and then basically mimic the colors and turn it into a tattoo. Lots of people come in and ask for pictures that aren't on the wall, and we have to draw. So that's art, of course.